We got to talk about something legit about what you're doing here. I kind of know maybe more than others because you and I at least touch base once every month, something like that,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
kind of just
for
figure out what's
sure.
going on. But I find that some of the work that you're doing right now with the next group is kind of pushing people further and further into the future than a lot of people are realizing. And I think that the way that you're converting really like a workforce that was once doing something more traditional or analog, whatever, are really kind of like repurposing that knowledge and pushing yourself forward. I don't think people realize that about that's what you're doing and that's how you work with people. Like
Yeah,
why did you get into that? Like what's the tipping point for you to kind of find that conversion?
yeah, absolutely. Well, there are two sides to my business. One is the consulting and growth strategy side. So not dissimilar to what you're doing from an operational standpoint. I'm working on a brand strategy, growth strategy, and value prop development standpoint. And I love that work, and it's I'm passionate about it. Obviously, we've been part of this community since the dawn of time. Um, but the other part of it was, which more it was from the individual standpoint. To me, has always been, you know, I've always been so passionate about it because I remember, my first Promax that I went to was in 1995, I want to say, and which was the Washington, D.C. So fun 95, 96. And I remember like back then, I couldn't even say what I did, right? I did graphics for TV and you talk to your parents like, oh, wait, so like you do a show? No, you do a commercial? No, we all know this joke, right? No, you
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the graphics for the promo for the thing. And they're like, I don't know what that business is. And I still, can't explain that. It was right. Your 90-year-old grandmother trying to explain that too. But I remember going to that Promax and sitting in this room. At that time, there were like 5,000 people in this room. And you really felt like home and you felt like there was a community around you to help push you forward. And that has stuck with me, for 30 years, right? That moment of engagement. And I feel like now the struggle is so real and the challenge that all of us are having so real. The only way we get through this together is as a community, because
Yeah.
it's that connection and that conversation that you have with one other person that changes everything. You could be in the business, you could be having your company for 20 years or 6 months, and it's still that one insight is going to change everything, right? And continue to push you forward. So I'm so passionate about it. And that's like after I stepped down from Promax, as I started kind of building my new business, that was one of the things I knew needed to be a mix of it, is like, how do I help the individual and how do I help people through some really challenging times, just individually and their companies, get to that next space.
Yeah, there is something so interesting about belonging as you're thinking big picture stuff, isn't there? I read an article recently about why horses are used and do such a good job with therapy. And it's because like an individual horse by themselves, you could spook them and they just run off. But when they're part of their community that they're in, they can
Oh,
go
that's
through a lot more
interesting.
stress and kind of just stay like intact. And they have a
Yeah,
sense of like community first in a way, and then they kind of think of themselves individually second. I think that the humans have an aspect to that too. It's like in a stressful moment, we, in a really weird way, we go bury ourselves, we hide away. There's some weird shame thing that we might put ourselves
yeah,
put upon us that's unrelated to reality. But when community shows up, you know you can relate, you know that you have a place, you know that the conversation hasn't changed, you feel normal again. There's a
yeah,
value proposition. So that's in like the stressful times. In a growth time or like in this time where the industry is pivoting, I almost feel like there's more opportunity to discover because it's happening so fast. Different people have different focus. And when we come together, we can see things differently and get a way larger view on what the horizon looks like.
yeah. I agree with that. I think it's interesting that many of us are at a point in our career where we are the experts in what we do. Like, we've launched the biggest networks, launched the biggest brands, worked with all the and we, at least I know, I can't speak for everyone on the Zoom, but I can speak for myself that um, I had, one of the relationships I had with the work that I did was I would either, equate work with toil or toil with work, meaning the more effort I put into it, that meant it must be more valuable. And that's not necessarily the case. It's just diminishing returns. And in addition, that I would knee jerk back into this behavior that I had when I first had my first agency, that other people know how to do this better than me. Like I'm not an expert, right? I just started my company, but we're not. We are the experts. You do know what you're doing, and you are the ones who are going to move this forward, or at least, but it's impossible to do that by yourself, right? You can't just sit in your studio trying to figure out how do I shape this industry. It's through the conversations that we all have together that I think really help us understand, okay, where is that proverbial puck going? How do we all collectively put ourselves into that future together? There is, the challenge is there's more content being produced than ever before. It's really different. The price points are different. The monetization is different. The clients are different, but we are the experts in the ability to do that. It's just about how do we repackage the skills and understand. I know we're going to talk about this later, but understand where we have creative license to go into. Like,
Yeah.
how do we map our network? How do we understand where those people are going? How do we understand where the growth opportunities are, where curiosity lies in there, and start putting that together? I always said that entertainment marketers and creatives are the most either proactive, reactive people or reactive, proactive people, whatever you want. And what I mean by that is there's a behavior, speaking from my own experience, there's a behavior where, you just sit and wait for that pitch to come in or that RFP to come in. And once you have that in your hand, the sky's the limit. Like you're the most proactive person in the world. You go over the moon, like whatever you need, we can do it. We can do a shoot. We can make that happen, blah, blah, blah. But there's that moment right before, which is a lot of that kind of mining the work or mining the network, mining the opportunities that I know that I had I had a blind spot too, because we're so used to just waiting for the phone to call versus really figuring out, or you knew the 30 clients that were part of your ecosystem that you could keep going back to. But that's, obviously we all know over the last 5 years that's gone, right?
Yeah.
And we have to
Yeah.
figure out where is that opportunity.
Well, I went to one of your cocktail events, and it was so interesting. I think Pash is on this call too, so he was at the same one. But it was so interesting to be in the room with the other experts, right? So I remember kind of sitting down, and I know I have a place at the table. I know I could relate to some people were total strangers, never met them before, but I know I could relate to them because I'm in the same industry as them. But it was so great to have really experts in a
Yeah,
full spectrum of our industry sharing the potential opportunities that are coming up. And some of them, I'd say, like, the opportunity has been thrust upon them more. Like they didn't choose it; they had to kind of pivot this way. But the momentum that you built up at that cocktail was to say, "Hey, these are just pieces of the puzzle. If we can kind of get the pieces out there and start sharing that together, we can
that's
connect."
right.
And like
Absolutely. Yeah.
I recently talked to Val from that, and her, like we connect so easily. We almost like process the same way, but she's moving towards the AI field. She's exploring so many more opportunities that way, using the technology side of it.
Yeah.
I would have never met them without that network. So I think there's really something that you're seeing. I feel like you're, on a higher point, kind of looking out and seeing a larger horizon and saying, "Hey, you guys really just need to get together and talk to one another." That's what it feels like you're doing for us.
Well, when I was doing those, I'm going to start them up again. It was a dozen people, so six were actually working at the time, and six were in a career transition, right? And you tried to kind of set up the stage so they all could kind of commingle. And I do believe, I mean, that next opportunity is not going to happen on doom scrolling LinkedIn at all, right? It's
Yeah.
going to happen through people, and that was the beauty of the industry and say Promax back in the day is we brought people together, and it was that what you thought was an incidental conversation, which changed everything and made you think differently. And the greatest lecture I had when I was running it was that I was able to have thousands of conversations over all those years with all these marketers and creatives. And so from a local station level all the way to a streamer level, and US and global, and you just see a different view of how all these pieces are working together and where we need to. I believe firmly that unfortunately there is absolutely a bloodletting going on, which is tragic because we all know so many people are in a career transition right now. And I do blame, the land grab that happened during COVID, where when all the streaming platforms launched, everyone thought that people were going to spend, $10 a month at the time on 18 streaming platforms. And sure, if you're locked in your house during COVID and you're not buying, a $10 coffee drink or,
Right.
sneakers or going to restaurants, yes, because you're looking for something to do. Totally unsubstantiated. And the model just didn't work. The fundamental business model worked. And fortunately, we're suffering from that,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
unfortunate, right? We're the casualty of that. That being said, the outcome of what we're seeing is that people who are providing content and creating content are coming from the most unlikely sources. It's a wild west again. It's no different than when a lot of us started at the first desktop revolution in the early 90s, that there's a new evolution going on. Finding where that is, whether it's direct to brand, experiential, sports, and other kind of lifestyle brands that are coming into the space, it's interesting. It's really, really interesting. And just the whole concept of, and I've written about this before, we're in like this fifth wave of the evolution of brand and what brand means. And like the more we can connect into this, that more valuable it's going to be for all of us as creatives, as agency owners.
Yeah. My latest podcast we released is actually an interview with Lee Hunt. And I
Yeah,
I asked him, can I have the exclusive last interview with Lee Hunt? He said, sure. So now he probably
that's
is going to have
amazing.
more interviews with him, but he was about a month from actually just full time retirement.
Yeah,
And we traced back. He started his first job at PBS in like 1980, so pre or early cable. He rode the entire cable wave right to now, where the cable wave is really almost over, and his career totally spanned that. And when at the golden age of cable, he was at the top with Lee Hunt and Associates. Such a fascinating person that can look back at a career and see
yeah,
that pivot taking place. And I asked him in the interview just like what he's seeing now and what the potential is, from that perspective. And he would, just like you, recognize like, the content field is now more available than ever before. And the opportunity to make content because of the technology evolution is more in more people's hand to make something
yeah,
unique, right? We're beyond the influencer market where it's just you and a camera and whatever background's
right.
behind you. You can touch the technology and make whole worlds and tell different stories. So we just really launched into an absolutely different play. The blockbuster that we all actually lived under since Spielberg's Jaws 50 years ago, that's what's broken. We're not seeing the blockbuster model anymore. We're not seeing big promotional
Right.
pieces, but we're seeing content, and therefore the need for promotion and connecting it with brand is going to
Yeah,
just actually grow up and build up more than it will shrink. I think that's where we kind of need the practice of seeing the real opportunity, not
yeah,
being afraid of it, understanding the details of who you are, what the value is that you provide, and then convert it. Because no one's going to convert it but us. We're the ones with
yeah.
the knowledge. We know how to do the conversion.
Absolutely. And to add on that, there are two forces at play here. So what I've seen, and a lot of you who are listening over the course of our career, is that we are on this continual march of democratization. So we were the first generation of democratization of content creation, right? Whether it was a Super 8 or a High 8, that anyone can actually shoot the content, right? But there was no distribution, right? You couldn't get it to anyone. So your parents and your neighbor could see the movie that you made. And we did a lot of like stop motion with Lego, back in the day. That was it. incomes early YouTube, early internet, and once again opens up democratization of distribution of content. That wave goes into curation, right? So it got so opaque you couldn't see, so much content is being uploaded, couldn't see anything. Curators came in the word in micro networks, influencers, which were curating content, and that's what is cratering obviously traditional broadcast and cable net at this point. Where this fourth wave, which I think is really fascinating that no one's talking about. So once again, content creation, content distribution, content curation, but all of that still went through someone else's pipe that they took a cut from. It still went through YouTube, right? It still went through somewhere that they were taking most of the money off of that. Now we are in this democratization of monetization, that anyone can go direct to brand or direct to consumer in one way. Yes, there are micro networks, but we truly are in the next couple of years going to get to, I'm making something, I'm going to have you watch it, you're going to pay me directly, and no one's taking a cut off the whole thing. That's the promise, a part of blockchain technology. Now, within that, what's the behavior, to your point around being a specialist, is that a lot of us, when we're in this point right now where a life event happens, our whale client leaves us, partnerships break up, you're out of, your agency is not doing what it used to do, or you're in a corporate job and you leave, and you feel like I need to go back to act one of my career versus the act three you are in right now, and I need to be a generalist again, because that served me really well when I was 25, right? I could do things. I could do promo. I can do motion graphics. I can do a live shoot. We can do DVDs, whatever you want. We can do it, right?
That's our gut reaction. That's what we falsely think we need to do, but we go there first with our reaction.
You go there first because it's muscle memory, and that served us well, right? And even through your second act, it served you. But now, where we really do need to be is you need to be that specialist. You need to, unfortunately, because it is a buyer's market right now, you have to have, I call it this angularity, this high degree of angularity that cuts through it. So when there is an increase in supply, a decrease of buyer, you have the only way you pop there. And I think that as long as everyone can stay focused to that, what we're anchoring to is new monetization models. Yeah. And how that connects back into how you bring that, like, how can you help them follow that money? It's no longer about like, I'm just going to do a network package. I did a jillion network packages back in the day, but no one cares, right? At all, right? They care. Yeah. The few care, but it's not what it was, right?
Well, let's say it's not relevant, as relevant as it was back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, or a title sequence, right? Those are vanity plays. They're not moving a dial forward. You can argue to say there are situations in which that does do that. And yes, you are right. But I'm talking about from a macro viewpoint, the work that we need to do now is the work that will drive that monetization engine, close that. And the more you can align to that with what you're known for, like finding that angularity, the more valuable that's going to be.
We just don't have the practice, right? The way the industry was set up in the years that we've been around is that each of those things were somewhat siloed. The promo department was separate from the ad sales department, separate from the content department. So like all those things were somewhat separate because there were specialties in each field. And those walls have broken down more and more. So there is a sense that generalizing would help you kind of like capture a bigger umbrella. But what you're saying is that actually the conversion is going to take a specialist to know how the actual conversion takes place. There's actually going to become a new discipline of people that know how to convert massive forms of content into monetization and then know how to make the money from it differently than any other like service-based scenarios we used to run out.
Yes, and you have to you have to be a generalist, right, in a certain way. But the angularity gets you through the armor. That sharp arrow allows you to break through it. Once you get in, you can go wide. But the only way you're going to get through the noise right now is that angle, right? Yeah. I just see that the conversations that I'm having, especially when the industry is so cranked right now for dollars, and for driving those returns is the more that you can help them find that and show that. It's very different than obviously, designing a lower third, which, we all did 1,001 of them,
Yeah.
1,000,001 of them. The
So
better.
I
And so,
gotta
like,
say,
for
like,
instance, great, like,
okay.
great case in point. I was just talking to a potential client who basically they're a film distributor and they sit in the doorway between indie filmmakers and the streamers, right? And so they're providing a suite of services that is going to be able to drive that conversion. And one of those suites of services is going to be marketing services, specifically organic social, right?
Yeah.
And so the conversation is not about how we can create templates for you. The conversation is about optimization, refinement, and being able to drive and being able to track conversion from that organic post into a view. That's how you create that stickiness ultimately that is going to keep them as a client.
I hope some of this challenge that Google is facing now with the monopoly issue and other people will start to fall is that they can't gate the all that information from us. They can't hoard it. And quite honestly, what I know is that they've committed a lot of fraud because of that. They could tell people they got views or clicks or whatever, and there's no really proof text out there because they owned the entire pipeline. They didn't have to give up any information. I,
Right.
I think that people are already kind of pressed way beyond the technology there, or have been somewhat frustrated in making their own, as you said, blockchain, or what TikTok seems to be doing with TikTok stores or TikTok shops. There's an ability to go directly from an advertiser straight to a content creator without any hurdles in the way. Um, Ryan actually just made an interesting comment. And Ryan, I know that you actually kind of maybe you want to jump in here just for a second because
Yeah,
you
no
made
worries.
this topic before. You've made this point before in previous conversations. It's just that our industry seems so unwilling to evolve into these challenges, and therefore
Hmm.
random people like Mailchimp comes up with production opposed to us evolving into what we should be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've always said this. I always feel like we're getting cut out of it because we're not trying to move beyond making the perfect pixel, if that makes any sense. So I love all the stuff you're saying, Steve. It's just, I don't know if anyone else feels like this. Like, where do we go to catch up to that whole idea of being able to say, yeah, like I want to be able to track if the work I made is converting. I want to be able to tell people that, like, no, the stuff we make is sticky because of X, Y, and Z. But I don't know how confident most of the people on this call feel that they can speak to that. Like everybody is doing a million different things. I want to get to that point to be able to say that. And it's not just the beautiful thing or the hard to make thing, but it's the thing that actually sticks. It's the thing that provides real value for what they need now. But where do we all go to do that?
Yeah.
To learn that, to add that capability, to build that skill on top of the perfect pixel.
Because again, like in the past, those were different departments and they didn't cross
Yeah.
over, so no one really has the education from the pretty pixel department to the ad sales
Right.
department and then the publicity department to know. Yeah.
It's so right. It's so interesting you say that because one of the things that I'm in the early stages. I should have it live by next month. Live, I mean just having it on my redoing the website, blah blah blah. But um, I want to be able to be in a place where I can start making those one-to-one relationships because
Hmm.
I literally have like 5 people that you should talk to immediately to have that conversation. And I'm not talking
Yeah.
about clients. I'm talking about here are people who do performance
Yeah.
or do digital, and you guys should have the conversation. I'm not saying I have the answer on how to do it, but I am saying that like,
Hmm.
how do I connect the right people together? It's no different than the curated dinners, Tim, but
Yeah.
to be able to do that, because that's where your answer is going to be. They could say, great, I can track every pixel, but I can't drive awareness at all. So everyone
Hmm.
needs to know where's their role within the funnel to
Hmm.
move you down into conversion, right?
Yeah.
And so those are the kinds of conversations. And we are, to Tim's point, like I remember in my early career when I worked at the network, like you were in these different little silos, right? That you
Hmm.
did not cross over or know anyone. And even when I was working in the industry, when I had shoppers working at shops, like we weren't talking to those people. We were so focused on promos or motion graphics,
Hmm.
trailers, and stuff like that. So that's like, I think to me is really exciting. I'm like, okay, Brian, you got to go meet James. James is the guy that you need to be talking to because he's going to have an
Hmm.
answer for you on that. And that to me is exciting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we need that, right? Like, I think part of it is like, just like I don't need to learn how to use everything in Houdini to be able to sell the fact that we can do beautiful Sims for shoe commercials, but I do need to have the language skills to understand what it is that they need to bridge what I can, provide. I feel like that's like someone, whether it's you, Steve, or Tim, or some combination, being able to just talk about the people who are having success stories doing this, right? Like we're all scrounging to find, like I listen and read Colin Samir talking about how YouTube creators are trying to figure out how to get to the agencies the way we already talk to the agencies, right? Like there's a million things to try to track and follow, but there's nobody that's like helping cut through all of it and provide like, hey, these are the three new things you need to add to your language skills. These are the four places you need to watch podcasts. These are the seven people you need to get in the room with. Because I think we all
Yeah,
know it, right? Like, but it's just trying to figure out how to like switch our
yeah.
brains into that mode.
To me, it's always the conversation is sitting down with someone who you haven't
Hmm.
met before, taking 15 minutes, talking it through and seeing if there's a there, and
Yeah.
then being um uncompromising, that's the right word, on the follow-up with them. And once again, there's a difference. And this is not a sales call. Like no one likes cold calling. No one wants to cold call. No one wants to get it. No one wants to do it. But I find that everyone wants to be in a conversation to help their business move forward, right? And if you can find that opportunity where you can create those relationships in people that are outside of your network of contacts right now, you're going to find opportunity. You're going to mine that. It's just about widening it.
Yeah.
So that's
Thanks,
like
That's
Ryan.
fair.
Appreciate
like
it.
one of the things. Yeah, I appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, Steve, it's kind of obvious to point out, but I'd say like the reason why one department didn't talk to the other department isn't because they're snobs and they're holding things back. The reality was is each of those departments, it was hard work. It wasn't easy to make a promo in an analog video space. It wasn't easy to
Right.
do a collection of data when big data didn't exist. Some
Yeah.
of the technological advancements have allowed access to things because the speed at which we can learn it and therefore accomplish it
Yeah.
is getting down and down that one human being could touch multiple pieces all over the place on the creative spectrum, on the advertising spectrum, on the data spectrum, and so on. So
Yeah.
I feel like the new person that's coming up, the evolution of the new person coming up is going to because they can, and they and it's just as accessible to anybody as anyone else. The smarter ones, the ones that understand and therefore know how to convert. And kind of to your original point is the best people that know how to convert are the ones that already have that life experience. They're the ones who have spent 20
Yeah.
years as a specialist in one area that now can teach somebody the conversion that might not have that experience, but really quickly get them up to speed. So Ryan's desire is to connect with those people with that experience and then know how to use this technology that's readily available, but I don't know how to use it, kind of a thing.
That's right.
That's
Yeah.
the thing that I think you're seeing and the evolution I think you're seeing it take place. I kind of want to get practical though. Like
Hmm.
I'd be really curious, like how you actually do it. What are what is like a step by step plan to know I'm moving in the right direction, not going backward to stage one, or how
Yeah.
do I get that same perspective so I can grow and push myself forward?
It's so funny. So if I say to you, what do you do that no one else does? All of a sudden you freeze, right? I don't know. I don't know what I do. I mean, we talk about that angularity, the specialization, which is so critical. Um, so what you have to do is you have to, in order to get to the answer, you have to invert the conversation. And you have to, it's basically, it's a fundamental, like a foundational value prop development, but it's slightly tweaked. And I've been tweaking this over the last, 10, 20 years. Um, you start on an industry level, you go to a client level, and then you go to a U level. So I call it anchor, align, and advance, right? So
Okay.
anchor. So first you have to anchor to what are the big issues in the industry right now. What's growing, what's shrinking, Where's the money flowing? And
Mhm.
in that, where is your curiosity? Like, so for instance, someone says, oh, you need to get into sports. I am not a sports person, not interested in sports. You put me in that room, like, I'm not going to win because I'm not hardwired to find that curiosity in that space at all. So have to be honest with yourself and truly do that. And once you kind of find those areas, then you have your hunting grounds. I hate saying it that way, but then you have your hunting grounds of where you need to go. I'm really curious about this behavior. I'm really curious about this. This is interesting to me. Those then become truly those areas that you can start developing thought leadership around. Like, what do you know about the space? What are you curious about? What's your unique thinking? What does your life experience allow you to think about these growing areas, right? If you
Yeah.
don't have any leadership or experience, you best not go in there. Once again, not at this point in your career. But how do you get that? Now, once you understand those kind of half a dozen places, you go to the next level with which is align. How do you align that to a client's specific challenges? So we all know a lot of people. We've been in this industry for a while, and if you haven't, you still have a handful of clients that are in and outside. Track them, understand where they're going, and then once you have understanding of where they are, you're not reaching them out to them for work. You're reaching out to them to understand what the challenges that they're having in that space. Tell me what you know. It's a pivot, but it's not a conversation. No, once again, you're not shaking someone down for work. You're just really interested to hear about their thought leadership.
So it's almost
Casual
like a deeper
conversation.
dive from your anchor. You found the anchor, and then you find
That's
those
right.
specialists and deep dive. So you're getting your master's degree now about this
That's
topic.
right. And then you start formulating what the pain points are. You have an observation over here, but you don't know what that means in context to the person. Once you start understanding what their pain is, what are their unmet needs, what's keeping them up late at night, what do they want, then, only then you go to you. What can you bring that can solve that pain points in context to the trend in the industry where the money is going? It's a very simple connect the dots, but it does create a lot of like deep critical thinking to get there. And in there, like any foundational brand builder, what's your overt benefit and your reason to believe? What's your qualitative, right? What's your claim? And then what are the proof points? What are the quantitative around that?
What's a
And
timeline
then
for something like that? Could I do that in 3 months, or does it take me 3 years to kind of go through that entire process?
I think it's usually like a 3 to 4 month process to actually
Hmm.
go through it, because it does take a while to really do the research and do that deep thinking, and you have to really find a partner who you can do that work with to start. Unlike, if you're just in your own internal voice, it's not nothing's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And so that becomes critical. But then you have power. Then you can say, look, I'm really interested in this emergence of uh, technology and creativity in context directed brands. Experiential is one of the places it's playing. What we're seeing is that, I'm making this up, but when people go to a pop-up, they're not being captured appropriately. I can't do any retargeting of them afterwards. And so where I really want to think about is blah, 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 blah. Then you start doing your thought leadership, you start doing your content marketing, you start getting that angularity out there, that uniqueness of who you are out there. And then you start getting in the right dialogues, which does,
Yeah.
it works. It totally works. It's very deliberate. It's a very deliberate approach.
And I'm going to guess this is what you do with some of your one-on-one clients. You're actually helping them
Yeah,
walk through those 3 A's.
I do that on an agency level, absolutely, but I also do it on a one-to-one level. The one-to-one level are usually the people who are in a career transition and that influences how they talk about themselves on their CV. How do they position themselves on LinkedIn? What's the content marketing that they're pushing out on LinkedIn, right? And being very true. Like for instance, I'm a very big moment for me was realizing that I'm not in the industry anymore. I'm of the industry. So what that means is, like, you want 1990s design, I can give that to you, no problem. But no one wants what I'm buying, right? Like, that ship has sailed for me, right? but what's my value to the industry right now? And so, and being really true. And if you look at what I'm putting out on LinkedIn, it's very true to that, you know, and it's
Yeah.
authentic, it's credible because it's hardwired to where my curiosity is and what I want to do, right? How I
Yeah.
want to help.
And what you've been given. I mean, just the network you have, positions you've held. It's
Yeah.
you're in a unique place. You have to kind of do it because no one else has those opportunities and network experiences that you have. This is nice.
That's you forcing me in this space.
I'm making you do
You're making me do it.
it. Well, I just feel like I have a natural curiosity. So the more you push it, the easier it is for me to learn things from you and through you.
Yeah.
So keep on
I
going,
mean,
please.
look, I think that I remember having conversations with people and they're like 15 years in and they're like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go jump over to whatever. Right. And
Yeah.
totally unrelated. And your value, the more you grow in your career, your value is your network of contacts, right? Your value is the stories that you have from 15 years ago.
You
Like
can
I'm
say
looking at
that
you,
again.
Lewis, you know,
Yeah.
what's that,
I
Andrea?
said you can say that again.
That's right.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like Lewis and I joke about a story about, you know, a sticker on a VH1, you know what I'm talking about, right? It bonds us together, right? That's the value that you have, um, you know, in the industry, and in jumping to something else completely different negates all that and starts you over the ground again. You have to think about that network you have and how, as you all grow, you can continue to exponentially add value to each other.
Yeah. And I appreciate that because I know I know early when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. So I didn't know very many 50-year-olds in the industry. And even as I first started consulting, a lot of people that were 50 approaching 60 were really the best they could do is leave and start a bed and breakfast or something like that. There just wasn't anywhere for someone like that to land. The technology has advanced, our industry has advanced, some of those gates have been shut down. And now it's very obvious that content creation and performance can go as late as I want to go in life. No one
Yeah,
can really stop me. All the niche audience and demographics are shifting in a way that you can be as relevant as you want to for as long as you want to. But you do have to understand what your next role is. Like that's to some degree the performance-based role that we take on from our 30s to our 50s when we're getting more and more and more specialized in a task has to eventually convert to the why you're doing what you do and how it fits the bigger pieces. And then if you plug into that, then you can convert and understand it and network and build something up from that. And I know that the
right.
dinner I was part of, the conversations you have are really that kind of promotion. It's like, are you kidding me? Why would you let go of all of that knowledge you have? You just have to learn how to convert it to the next stage. And by the way, nobody knows how to convert it. This is a new field of conversion. So
And
we're
you're
entering
the
into something that's
expert.
being invented. And you
You've
be the
got 20
expert.
plus years of doing it. Like we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
And look, once again, you know, I'm the just to as to blame for that as anyone else. And um, you know, forget this. I'm done. I'm moving on. I'm out of this thing. You know, and it's like no, like take a beat, right? This is the there we're passionate about the space. They've built incredible businesses or starting incredible businesses. You are known. You're producing good work. Um, the market's moved, right? What we were making, no one is buying. That's not means they're not buying. They're just not buying that product. And being able to figure out how to untap and really sharpen how you communicate your value, your worth, of who you are, because it's there, right? It really, really is there. You wouldn't be where you were if it weren't there. But it's a subtlety on how to like just frame it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Um, I don't want to keep people longer because we usually cut this off at a half hour, but
Oh, sorry.
I would
I
hang
just
on.
kept
No, no,
blabbing.
no. I can hang on for any Q&A as long as you still have time. Answer any
No,
Yeah, yeah.
questions. But
I was.
before you do that, I would love to. Oh, sorry, Andrew.
No,
Just
no, you
I
go,
was going to
Phil.
say, just Steve, just for very practical things. If people want to be part of this network, I was invited to one of those things, but do they just get a hold of you because the in person event stuff that you're doing is so
Yeah.
much more meaningful when you get to meet people and expand your network that way.
Yeah.
And then
Reach out.
you're
Yeah.
doing
Reach
other
out to
things
me.
online too. So what are those things that you're doing that people can plug into?
Yeah. I mean, the first and foremost, just reach out to me on LinkedIn, or if you have my email, or get Tim. Tim will connect us if
Oh, and
you
by the
don't
way,
already
Steve is
know.
in community too. So you can DM Steve if you're in RevCommunity.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
I am. Um, and so um, we're doing live events. We're continuing doing live events throughout the year. So both large format as well as smaller, intimate networking cocktail things. Um, I'm just about to start up those, like I was saying to Ryan, those one-to-one connections, which are just a free service. It's like I just want to connect people together, right? And see those opportunities there. And then there'll be more of a content platform that's rolling out as well as part of this kind of enhanced services. And then if there are on an ad hoc basis, I do what I talked about, that anchor line advance. I do more of like it's a multi-day 6-hour workshop on that, which goes into in depth on how to actually do that and go through that process. But the most important thing is, just because this is a small group, if there is something there, just reach out to me and we'll talk about what the right fit would be.
Oh, that's great. Andrea, did you have a question for us?
No question.
Oh, really? Come on. You have a
No, I don't have
comment?
a question. I just have a comment. I talk to so many people in the industry every day who are struggling with, I mean, not just agency owners, but, you know, people who have been let go because agencies are having a hard time. And it's I'm glad I'm able to connect with them and I mean, tell them the truth, what's going on, but also to guide them in a way that they get out of their head and out of that like down and the dumps,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's hard. It's hard. But so it's just been really interesting to connect with not, I mean, we're talking about every level of, people who were global, head of global advertising at Netflix, right? And
Right.
and see what they're doing and how they're pivoting. And some are successful, some are just learning how to be successful. But it's nice to be able to connect and I do it for free. My husband hears
Right.
me on the phone and he's like, "Why aren't you charging for this?" Because people are
Yeah.
like, I never thought of it that way, Andrea. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, oh, well. But the other thing I find that's been really valuable is something you said, Steve, and that is I've been connecting with my clients and saying, look, I know you don't really need to staff up right now. But if there was somebody that could move your business forward, what would that
Right.
person look like? And that's been really valuable to get into to make it a different conversation. It's not just like,
That's a
Yeah.
oh,
great conversation.
where we used to just respond, oh, I need an art director, I
Totally.
need a creative director. Now it's more what, who, what.
But and the add to that, and
Huh?
Andrea, the add to that, Andrea, would be, um, I'm seeing other people who are adding this blah 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 functionality to your team, and they're
Yes,
seeing success. Would love to
yes.
talk to you about what that looks like,
Yeah,
right?
I do a lot of what I call reverse recruiting,
Yeah,
where there's somebody, people reach out to me all day long. I just got somebody who's a senior executive client partnership person at a major agency. And, I can't wait to talk to him,
yeah,
to see where I can connect these dots, you
yeah,
know.
Yeah.
To
totally.
me, I should have retired by now, but this is what's keeping me excited these days.
Yeah,
Well, I feel
we
like
want
you're
to
sitting in the
help.
same place.
Yeah,
Steve and I, like we get to have multiple conversations all day long with different studios and different production companies and different um, agencies that we could kind of put the pieces together. That if you're inside of one of those companies, you're not getting the same purview.
yeah,
So it's
totally.
amazing to have that available to us.
Yeah. And, for me, I really feel blessed that I'm able to speak to lots of different uh, decision makers at top agencies and hear what their pain points are right now and where, and if I can help, I'm like, sure, I mean, and that's been really valuable. So I
Yeah.
just thought I'd share.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it.
And
Love it.
thank you
So,
for
yeah, Steve,
doing
like I'm
this.
curious.
Yeah, for
What's that?
sure.
I said thank you both
Oh,
for having these platforms. It's so nice to be able to connect and just you know, hi Oliver.
Hey, how are you? How's it going?
And Anne.
Hey, thanks for
the
being here.
Hi guys.
yeah, Steve, I think that some of that too is like I've learned from you over the last couple of years is just what you get to see in the bigger patterns as well. I think people like Andrea, myself, you, people that are servicing the agencies from the outside, we have like a different burden about it, don't we? Like Andrea was saying, like we can kind of feel it differently. We want to serve people differently. We want to connect people. Like you want to connect to one-on-one people, regardless if they're paying for you or not, just so that you can kind of keep the momentum going and
Right.
not
Oh,
put people to
I do
Right.
want to get paid though eventually.
well, yeah. I like to say I work really hard and sometimes I get paid for it, right? That's kind of the way it feels.
That's a great line. I love that.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, this is our responsibility. All of our responsibility is to give back at some point, right? And it it's why we're here, right? If you're just here just to take, what are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not worth it. There's way
Yeah,
too much out there and it's a very vast field. So I feel like if you could just work in it a little bit, you can have a little bit of fun and enjoy it and then give back all you can. It's a better way of doing it.
totally agree.
Any other thoughts or questions before we kind of jump off for today? Okay, great.
Perfect.
Steve, thanks for being part of this and thanks for kind of moving the chains forward for us. Like I think you're doing the work we're not yet asking you to do, but that the long run is going to kind of pay out for all of us. So thanks for being at the forefront for that.
We're all in this together, and you're more than welcome. We're all in this together, and the only way we get through it is a community and is a conversation that you have with someone that changes everything. That is 100% true.
Where do I see that interview you did with Lee?
Oh, it's in the podcast. If you go to whatever podcast platform you use, just look for RevThinking podcast, and it's the latest episode.
Oh, RevThinking.
It's only like a week or two old. Yeah, RevThinking.
Oh, okay, cool. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, it's so good. He's very generous at that. All right, my friend. Well, I'll see you.
Hey guys.
Bye, David. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and good to see everyone here.
Yeah.
You guys have a wonderful beginning of the school year. I know many of us are jumping into that, so we'll.
Oh my God!
Keep things going.
Empty nester.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We'll push forward.
Thank you, everyone.
Of course. I'll talk to you later.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye, guys.